What's up? This is episode. Wow, I think it's 14.
Wow, 14.
Impostor syndrome. And today
Yeah.
we've got Mustafa Williams.
Hello, everybody.
What's up? I didn't tell you much about the podcast, so it's really just free form. But I usually start. What do you do? What's your role in the entertainment industry?
Awesome. I like to call myself a full stop creative producer. So I literally do anything that has a story. So that's anywhere from short form content like music videos, Instagram content, things like that, all the way across the spectrum for film and television. I've done it all. I've done theater. I just am a creative conduit. Like that's my heartbeat. That's my life's blood. Is creating stories. Sometimes I live in my own head, so it's good to kind of put that down on a piece of paper and send it out to the world in whichever medium. I'm into anime, everything across the board you can even imagine. So that's pretty much what I do. I create the ideas, I put the pieces together, and I basically what I like to call curating. What that is having an eye for different pieces and knowing which pieces to put together to create the final product. It's kind of like a chef, but a chef for this industry, television and film, where I see a bunch of different ingredients and I say, hey, that ingredient can go with this. This writer will work best with this director. This director does this kind of content, so he'd be best for this. Set designer has a knack for this. Let's pair these guys together and let's create, some art. So that's kind of how it's curated, but I do that across the board.
Yeah, so we're kind of similar in that way, in that you do a little bit of everything. I'm kind of the same way. Like, awesome. I have no boundaries musically.
Yes, I've heard a lot of your stuff.
Yeah, I got some weird stuff on my newest project.
Oh,
but
can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. Producer is kind of a weird title.
Very weird.
In music and film, it's a very nebulous job title. Like, I feel like a producer, there's different types of producers. So how would you describe because a lot of this podcast is very much aimed at amateurs. So what's the layman's terms description of a producer to you?
So that's a funny thing. There are a wide variety of producers. It's one of those terms where it can mean everything or nothing at all, across the spectrum. Essentially, there are producers for money. There are producers on the creative end. There are producers on the structural end. There are producers on the post-production end. There are producers across the board. You have producers who create specific characters. You have people who get the credit because of some intellectual property that they came up with, or they were in a room for, and they get that credit. So sometimes you'll see somebody who has executive produced by, where their involvement was very loose in the process, or you have somebody who was there from the beginning to the end. So in layman's terms, a producer is one of the creative or one of the gatekeepers, not just creative, one of the gatekeepers for any given project. So I'm more of a hybrid because I am a writer first and foremost. So my bread and butter has been in the creative end of it, because that's what I do. I also direct. So the creative part is where I like to live. But in college and what I do professionally, my kind of title or my kind of responsibility has shifted from creative more to structural. I have a knack for organization, and attention to detail and foresight, where I can look ahead and see, okay, this can be our problem. This can stop production. How do we avoid that? You want to do this. How can we do this in the most efficient way possible? And so I'm more of a hybrid where I work on those two ends of it. But a producer is somebody who's a gatekeeper for any creative endeavor or any endeavor in general. You might have a producer in music who does a specific sound, or drums, or So it works a little bit on the same way on the film and television and that side, the video side. So I like to call it a gatekeeper. Whatever your gate is, you are the keeper of that gate. Whether it's the money, you have some guys. I also do the money part. We call that a line producer. And what that is, I'll get budgets. So if I'm working with a company, let's say I get like a $10,000 budget or 15 or 20 or whatever, up to $1 million, whatever. It'll be my responsibility to make sure I understand what's being spent and try not to go over that. Now, I've never had $1 million. I don't think I ever want a line producer or something that high. My level's more like 10, 15,000. That's where I can live. But anything higher than that, I will hire someone else, because I do so many things. I wear so many hats, and I don't want to be responsible for anything higher than that, because I have a million other titles. I have a million other things that I'm doing. So I'd rather have one person that will handle that. So on the bigger projects, there will be a line producer, and then there will be other producers for other tasks. So it's just, I'm in a weird position, because on the level where I am, I have to wear multiple hats. But if I'm doing something like on the next level where, I would like to be very, very soon, or I will be very, very soon, I would hire, different people to handle those responsibilities solely. So
yeah, that's always how it is. The bigger the production, the more you can shed those extra layers and just do one thing.
Exactly. And you need to, because there's so many things you have to focus on, So like I do location, I do sometimes I'll do the call sheets, sometimes I'll do budget, and then creative, and then props, and then casting, and then everything. Like I have so many titles where I am now, where it's, I have to do so much. But the higher you get, the more money you get, the more you can hire other people. A lot of times sometimes in film though, it just depends on the medium. In film, I'll have help, because you need help. In film, you need an AD, production manager. I did a project where it was myself, another producer who was also the director. I had a production manager, and I had an AD. So between all of us, a lot of duties were kind of stretched out. But I'll have a project where I'm everything. So it's just a gatekeeper. Whatever your gate is, you got to keep that shit. That's what I call producing.
Yeah. It's even more muddled in the music world. I mean, I know you do a little bit of that.
Yes.
And also, you're very good too. I was very impressed with your vocals.
I appreciate it. That's where I started. Music was my first love. I did that until I was about 14. That's when I got into theater and then film and television. I worked in television for a few years, and I've always kind of had like this. You ever had like a girlfriend where you guys are off and on, like you'll date her 4 years ago, and then you'll bump into her somewhere, you guys start talking again, and then you're a thing for a little while, and then you break up again. That's my relationship.
That's how I am with drawing.
Yeah. That's my
Yeah.
relationship with music. I can't quite kick her, because my focus is elsewhere. You know, I'll bump into her again. We'll end up in a relationship. But I like that because music is in my heart and my soul, and it's in my daily life. But it's just a different process. Um, and I would rather focus on what I'm doing now versus stretching myself too thin. I already spread myself out a lot. You know, that would be too much. And I've always been from that mindset of, doing too many things ensures that you're not good at, or you're not the best at, what you're trying to do because you're so spread out. People that do a lot of things end up being decent in those things instead of being the master of one, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I do a lot of different things, but they're all in the same wheelhouse. So I was able to like make that really great. But music is similar, but I have to focus, on writing, on listening for
Yeah.
different things. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
No,
yeah, you
I
understand.
yeah, I have a tendency towards doing too much. Uh, I'll take on way too many music projects,
Hmm.
or I'm getting into writing now too.
Awesome.
So, but
Awesome.
it's hard to focus on one thing. So I'm always trying to, because like I have a tendency to be like, ooh, shiny, and go for that. But I gotta bring
Yes.
myself in, and
Hmm.
focus.
Yeah, that's what I had to learn too. But I mean, I love music videos. That's where I've kind of been getting my fix with music. It's so weird that I literally have only been doing music videos for the last year and a half. Considering my past, I came from music. I fell in love with theater. I fell in love with video, and for some reason, I never did a music video. you know,
Mm.
Till I met a friend of mine who was heavy into the music video world. He's done a lot of work for P Diddy, Nicki Minaj, people like that, and he brought me on, and I got into the music video world. And a lot of the artists that we work with are brilliant. So I have a lot of my favorite artists right now from people that we've done work for, and it's just something about creating a music video that makes you feel in touch with video and music at the same time, you know. And I'm getting my
Yeah,
music fixed with that.
there was a weird time where people kind of shit on music videos, like the hardcore people, like where because MTV corrupted it.
Yeah.
But like where it's like, oh, if you can't enjoy the music without the video, then but I think music videos add so much to the music.
Yes,
Yeah, I
absolutely. Hmm.
like
Okay.
there's times where like I heard a song and I thought it was okay, and then once that visual element was added to it made the song better to me.
Literally.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
And they say pictures are worth 1,000 words.
yeah,
Um, for those of us that can see, we interpret our world. The biggest part of our interpretation of the world is what we see. You know what I mean? And a large part of it also is what we hear as well. Not to say that one is greater than the other, because
yeah.
I imagine if I lost my hearing, the world would be very different as well. But
I'd kill
the two
myself.
of yeah, because that music part is, man. Um, but
Yeah,
with them together, it creates this experience, that's unmatched.
yeah,
And I can't understand that thought process. I mean, I think people should be able to enjoy music independently. That's how it should be enjoyed. But I wouldn't take away from people who do music videos with it. I've done projects
no,
where I had a song, and as I was writing the song, I was conceptualizing the video. I had a song
yeah, me
called
too.
yeah, like literally, and it kind of reinforces what's been the really good music videos are the ones that reinforce what the song's dramatic premise is. Those are the best
Mm-hmm.
music videos. That it's either it accents them, it complements them, or gives a play by play, about what the song is
Yeah.
talking about. And it's always supposed to complement. There is a trend in music videos now where people are leaving the art of it and are creating videos solely for shock value or because it's different. It doesn't mean that it has anything to do with the song. It's just a visual that is just accompanying a regular song. And I'm not knocking anyone who prescribes to that style, but that's not my style. I couldn't really direct a video like that unless it tied together in ways that
Yeah.
weren't readily apparent, but it's still tied together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's sometimes you see a music video and like there's a narrative to it, and you listen to the lyrics, it has absolutely nothing to do with the lyrics.
Exactly.
And like for me,
Exactly.
even though I'm an instrumental artist, but I always have a narrative in my
Mm,
music. So even though I don't have any music videos, like I always imagine something to go along with
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the best part for me. And now you can't even get a record deal without videos. You know,
Yeah.
um, artists on the artist side. I don't know about the instrumental side. I know videos don't hurt on the instrumental side, but artists now they won't even look at you if you don't have a following. They don't. If you don't have video or some kind of online representation of who you are visually with content, then
Yeah.
you're not even in the race, and it's a hard race as is. So a lot of what we do is we cater to like the major labels. I've done work for Sony Music, Atlantic Records, RCA, those big companies, but we also say it again.
We're having connection issues.
Oh, sorry, did you hear me?
I got the gist of it.
Oh, okay. um, and we also cater to indie artists as well that who don't necessarily have the
Really froze
budgets
up
of.
there. I'll
Hello?
fill the void while we're waiting for it to.
All comes together. Oh, technology! How great is technology? Oh, Skype.
Ah, get over yourself. Work, function, do what you're told.
Exactly. Are we back?
I think we are. I think we're kind
Okay.
of in real time now.
Okay. Awesome.
There's
Can you see me do my moves?
yeah. There's definitely some latency for sure, but
Okay. Maybe,
it's
maybe
working.
I'm just offbeat. um, we do work for indie artists as well, because we see that um, the way the industry is now, everyone needs content. It's a very content heavy game now. So if you're not pushing out content, whether it's a podcast, whether it's music videos, whether it's Instagram posts, whether it's Facebook, Tumblr, if you're not playing in that arena, you're not playing the game at all. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
a lot of the artists we talk to, these are indie artists and they're shelling out thousands because they understand how it is. Now, on the inverse side, it's kind of messing up the industry a little bit because not really messing it up. I shouldn't say that. Um, Music videos are having a lot less significance these days because everyone has one. You know what I mean? Before, it used to be that only particular artists will have a quality of music video. You know what I mean? But since cameras have become cheaper, since cameras have become more mainstream, a lot of people are having a high quality video. And of course, you can still discern the really good stuff from like amateur guy with a camera, guy who bought Sony A7S and can hit record. You know what I mean? You can still discern that, but not taking anything away from that at the same time. Guy with the A7S can shoot videos for a lot of indie artists for like $500 or, whatever the going rates are, for indie videos. Um, Unfortunately, we don't do any of those, but there are most people do them at that level, $500 to $1,000. You know, um, that kind of thing. So it's readily available for people, but that's just where we are. It's content. It's a content game. You push it out, and it doesn't mean because you spent a few $1,000s on the video that you're going to be famous either.
No,
You know what I mean?
most likely not. It's just
Yeah, most likely not.
it's more about consistent content than it is the
Exactly.
scope. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, because we always try to manage expectations because some people have that notion that if you have if you shell out for a really good video, that it's going to be shared on YouTube and it's going to get like 1 million views and you're going to be like famous tomorrow. You know, that unfortunately isn't how it works. It might have worked like that in 2006 or 2007, where the industry kind of shifted more towards video content where no one knew about it. You know what I mean? Video content was like here and there. YouTube was just becoming popular from like 2005 to 2007, 2008, 2009. So there were very few people pushing out music videos. And the ones that were pushing out videos were Soldier Boy. That's how Soldier Boy became really popular. He had these self-made videos where he had to dance. The Superman that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that? Yeah. People like that were pushing out YouTube videos, music videos, and these were launching their careers. You know what I mean? Um, but now in 2019, almost a decade later, everyone has a music video, you know, and we're all fighting for the space, the real estate online, and our interests are all over the place. So just because you post on YouTube, it doesn't mean that somebody's on YouTube. You know, they can be on Netflix, Instagram, Facebook, Amazon, Hulu. The list goes on and on and on. You're fighting for so much control. So the best thing that an artist can do is be consistent. Is to engage with people. Is to go to real life events and push it that way. Just be consistent. So it's a really weird time for video and music. It's a very, very, very weird time. On the one end, it's good because you know we stay employed. People know that they need video content, but at the same time, they know it's about consistency. So the odds of them shelling out thousands and thousands and thousands, if you're not signed to a major label, is very low. You know what I mean? So it sucks. It's a cycle of suck. Unless you're plugged in. If you're plugged in, you're good. If you have a great label contact and all you do is label videos all year, you can make some really, really, really good money. You know.
Yeah, I have another friend that she makes a lot of, probably most of her income off of music videos. And
awesome.
She does amazing work. Yeah.
Yeah. What's her name? Maybe
Lee Milby.
Lee Milby. Maybe I probably follow her.
Most of what I've seen is she does a lot of hip hop stuff. But we actually, me and her, I did one of her films, and we actually co-wrote that film, and we're co-writing another one.
Awesome. Awesome.
So yeah, she's really talented at that.
Is she from?
It's interesting that we're talking. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she's here. But it's interesting you bring up the music video thing because I'm figuring that out myself for my new project. I'm like, I have a concept for a music video for it, but I'm like, I don't know if I should bother trying to. Because like, I think the way I can make it is if I like did a Kickstarter or something, and I'm like, or like an indie. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to go through that. But it might not be a bad idea. Well, like, is it worth it to put that money in?
You know what though, it is worth it because at the end of the day, you'll have that to look back on. It's better than if you choose right now to not do it, then there's nothing out in the ethos. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I
you
should
can
probably
get a
just do it.
really, yeah, I agree. Even if that means you have to compromise on the concept a little bit, because that's
It's
another.
actually it's a pretty simple concept, and it could probably all be done natural lighting. So
Okay.
so that could make it easier. But
Yes, a lot easier, and it's definitely always worth it. Even what I just said, the alternative is nothing. You know what I mean? Um, which is as long as someone's creating, it doesn't matter what level it's at, because it'll always get better. You work with what you have, you know. So I know a lot of artists who did like a bunch of smaller videos, and by the time that they got to us, they were saying like, okay, you know, we've done this for this X amount of years. You know, we're ready to drop. We're ready to do like a $5,000 video, 6,000. You know, and they live in that. You live in that arena. So whatever happens, then you're doing 10,000 videos, $10,000 videos, and you live in that arena. You build,
yeah,
and then you're 15,000, 20,000. You know, and somebody else is paying for it. Um,
uh,
and what we see a lot are we see a lot of investors. So we'll have artists that are able to kick out all of this money because they found an investor. And this was something I didn't know existed in the music industry. Because I was like, who the hell would invest in an artist, you know, outside of like labels, you know? But the indie label, the indie people getting in that movement is powerful. So you'll have a lot of small time indie companies that are signing artists. You'll also have angel investors, silent investors who will see whatever in an artist and they'll invest in. I've heard of people buying out apartments and studio space and having people live there, paying for their music videos, paying for their marketing, paying for their press, paying for all of these different things. I guess with the expectation that this artist that they're investing in is going to give their ROI at some point, some return, which works sometimes. I think I want to say I want to say Future or the Migos. Somebody they had a there was a whole legal thing recently with that situation where they had some people who kind of helped them out, picked them up, invested in them, did X Y Z, and you know once they are famous and they go to the label, they're like we're owed this money. You know what I mean? You were signed to us, you know, for this period of time, and we brought you here, and you became this. We're owed 10 million, 15 million, 20 million dollars. You know,
mm,
that's another thing I'm seeing as well because I'm like, you know, I used to be an artist and I used to be like, there's no fucking way I can afford a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 video. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, or more, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, you know, $15,000 video. And I'm like, how the hell is this happening? But I was learning when I started producing them. I started talking to the people who were actually paying for the videos, and it would be the investors. It would be, you know, a myriad of things. We have some artists who pay out of pocket as well, but it's always
Yeah.
a manager or somebody who's invested in that artist. So it's really interesting. I'm actually learning a lot about the music video industry by producing in it because I get to have these conversations with the artists. I get to have these conversations with the managers, you know, and it's a beautiful learning experience. It's also a little discouraging for me to be an artist as well, you know, because I'm
Yeah.
also learning about. Sorry if I'm talking too much. I'm just trying to
No,
throw
that's the
some
point.
reality. Yeah, I'm trying to throw some. You know, it's just managing expectations of um, that's really what my the crux of my last year and a half has been towards life. It's just managing expectations a lot, because the real true story of the industry is it's a little discouraging. You know what I mean? There are a lot of inspirational stories, but everything that goes on behind the scenes is a little disparaging. You know,
It's
there's a lot of
important people know that though, because like
yeah.
you're not gonna get anywhere unless you learn all this shit about how dark it is. It's like this is why I stay as independent as possible
Uh-huh.
with my music, because well, one, my I'm being realistic. My music, my own personal music, is not. It's for a very niche audience. So
Okay.
nobody's coming at me like throwing money at me. but
Uh-huh.
but so I have to be independent, but also I don't ever want to be beholden to somebody, especially for my own music. Like with
Uh-huh.
if I'm doing a film for somebody, I have no problem compromising because they're hiring me to do their film. So
Uh-huh.
whatever the director says goes. But with my own stuff, it has to be 100% me. You
Mm.
know, no compromises. I don't want to have to be beholden to anybody. So that's why I'm thinking if I do this music video, it would be crowdfunding because, well, that's the
Mhm.
only way I can do it.
Yeah, no,
So
and
let
that's a
beholden.
yeah, that's 100%. That's really the crux of it, you know. Even on the label level, whenever you have somebody who's even in general, this is like for life, you know, even on the political level, you know, when people are investing money in you and you're working for somebody else who's bankrolling what you do, you don't have control at all. You know what I mean? These people have their own agenda. These people have their own understanding. You know, even on the film side, you know, you'll sell your script or in the process of selling your script, and someone will say, "Hey, you know, this XYZ is trending right now. How can we work this in your script?" And it's like, I mean, I don't know how I can work that in my script because it doesn't really make sense with what I'm doing. And they're like, "Well, yeah, that's true, but these kind of movies are playing like this in this particular market, and this is where, you know, we're trying to, you know, this is where we want to sell this. This is where we want to live.
People gotta
So we
stop
kind
with
of
that
need,
shit. Like, it
yeah,
doesn't work. Like, look how many
uh,
movies fail because
that's
they
fair.
do that whole micromanage. Big budget
Uh,
movies fail all the time because they try to be like, oh, we gotta cater to this market. It almost never. It doesn't work.
yeah,
I don't
I
know
mean,
why people still do that.
to be fair, it doesn't work as a whole, but there's a
Yeah,
whole myriad of movies that it works for. Where,
yeah. It can work. It can work sometimes in the short run, but
yeah,
there's no
exactly.
longevity.
There, yeah, and that's the thing. Like because it works for a very small amount of films, you know, everyone wants to replicate that success. You know, so we look at this current era of superhero movies. You know,
Mhm.
these are the most superhero movies we've ever seen in the history of cinema. Period, across the board.
Yeah.
There's always been superhero movies, but now it's crazy.
It's like
Five,
westerns in the 60s and 70s.
exactly. Or like 5 or 6 years ago, the zombie craze. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Uh,
I'm so glad that's dead.
yeah, me too. Me too. The Walking Dead is somehow still on television, but I suspect that's ending soon.
Well, the
Um,
comics ending soon. It's like
oh
they
yeah,
just announced
exactly.
like it's like a very abrupt like they were just like the next issue it's done.
Wow, wow. It doesn't even give you time to prepare or grieve or anything. It's just
Yeah,
done.
I don't read that. I just saw that. I don't read it personally, but I saw on Facebook everybody's like, "Wow, this just came out of nowhere."
Wow.
But I'm
Yeah,
glad
I
they're
mean,
doing that.
yeah, the zombie thing now it's what's happening is they're seeing that it's not as profitable as it used to be. People are tired of it, you know. It's
It's a
very
one.
baseline.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so much
exactly.
you
It's
can do
very
with that.
yeah, it's very baseline. It's you know, and I understand at that time because at the end of the day, it is business, and that's the one thing I had to learn as a producer. I had to get out of my own head sometimes and understand that it's film business, music business. You know what I mean? So business is 50% of that word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it has a huge bearing on the art. It's unfortunate, but when you have millions and millions and millions of dollars in a product, they want to manage expectations. It's harder to take risk on millions of dollars. That's why indie movies are cheaper, because you're taking more risk. Well, some indie movies are cheaper. You're taking more risk, versus a Star Wars or a Marvel anything. They have their formula. Star Wars is a little different. This is the first time where, like, I've never seen a franchise so paralyzed as Star Wars, because The Force Awakens came out too much like A New Hope. It's like, well, fuck, you want it to be like A New Hope, right? You want it to retain the same feeling as the old trilogy. Now, I get why you want a new story now, because you don't want to rehash. You waited all these years for something fresh, and then they give you something that kind of sticks to the original feeling, but kind of rips it off a little bit. But it's kind of paying homage, the fans shit on.
It's a very similar story, but at the same time, it's not. Like, it really does stand on its own, I think. But then you get The Last Jedi, where everyone complains because it's different.
Exactly. They go.
I get infuriated about Last Jedi because I'm saying it. I love Last Jedi, and you know why?
I thought it was
it's a great film. I'm the biggest Star Wars nerd in the world. Anybody who listens to this podcast knows, because I talk about it on every podcast. But like, I don't ever let myself get into this mode. I see so many people getting that's not my Star Wars. I hear that all the time. It's like
cringeworthy.
It's like, you gotta like approach. I go into every Star Wars movie as if it's its own movie, and I judge it on its own merits. Last Jedi, I loved. I think it's a great movie. I like what they did with Luke. I think it made sense in the narrative that they created. And everybody blames Rian Johnson, but that's stuff that JJ set up.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I thought it was a great film. I also think that some of the choices were a little too aggressive, because of how
there are problems for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can go on and on with the problems. It was just a little painful because, particularly, I can understand their anger with Luke, because you're waiting 40 years to see Luke Skywalker again, or 35 years to see Luke again, and he's in the last fucking 1 minute of The Force Awakens. Yeah. And then you include him in The Last Jedi, which I understood because that's what JJ set up, but you never get that paid off expectation that you had 35 years ago after Return of the Jedi. After Return of the Jedi.
That's the difference that I had with most other people is I went into it expecting and actually wanting what we got. I wanted the cranky, jaded Luke. Just based on what they set up, it made sense. It just made sense narratively. And I thought it was great that we saw this guy who was super optimistic in the old ones. And now he's older. He's been through some shit. And, this is real life. This is what happens to people. So
I agree.
It made it more human. And I think it made it more relatable than a lot of the other Star Wars movies because it went that kind of more realistic route there. And
I agree.
I don't like Canto Bite. Canto Bite was just a waste.
Yeah, that sequence. I still skip that to this day.
Yeah,
I skipped that whole sequence. It was just a waste.
all of Finn's arc is just like, why?
Sad.
It doesn't amount to anything in that movie.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. Literally, he had promise in The Force Awakens, and then The Last Jedi, his arc, I was just like, at this point, I don't think they know what they're doing with the characters. That's what it felt like, because it didn't progress him much, at all. And then they tried to force a love story in there with
that was the big thing I didn't like.
Rose Tico. Yeah, I was like,
yeah. My main problem with that is I fucking hate love triangles. Like, love triangles are like the worst thing narratively to me. So like, it's like, why are you introducing this unnecessary element? It's like they set up the whole thing with him and Rey in the first movie. Just stick to it. You don't need that extra element. I like Rose as a character. I just don't like the necessary love story. And I'm hoping, based off of the episode 9 trailer, that they're abandoning that, because she doesn't show up at all in that trailer, so it means she's probably not that significant in that realm, in that love story thing. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I agree with that. I see what they were trying to do, because it echoes the original. Before we found out that Leia was, that was a weird narrative thing there.
It was weird too. I wonder how critical I'd be of it if I didn't watch it from the age of a little kid. Like, I wonder how I'd feel about that now, because it was weird how, like, in Empire Strikes Back, it's all of a sudden the romantic tensions between Leia and Han, and that just wasn't in there in the first one. So it is weird in retrospect. I can't judge it now.
Yeah, and I think it worked out. It ended up being a stroke of brilliance with the Leia twist, too. But what do you think about the next movie? Well, you said you liked The Last Jedi.
9?
So
yeah. So as long as episode 9 clears up some things, like, because I read the books, so I know a lot of stuff. But
me too.
I want the movies to explain First Order stuff. Where the fuck did Snoke come from? I want to know more about what has been happening the last 34 years. Like,
I agree.
In on some of that. If they can clear all that stuff up, I'm happy. Like, they could just tie up those loose ends, because we need a little bit of that.
I agree. My biggest thing is with the character of Rey. I love Rey. She's one of my favorite characters of this sequel trilogy. But I also watched 6 movies and a bunch of television series where Jedi have to work to get to where they got. Even powerful Jedis like Anakin Skywalker, who was a young prodigy. You know what I mean? He had to work to do certain things. Rey, in retrospect, seemed to pick up on a lot. She did a Jedi mind trick in the first movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to know why she's so adept with the Force. You know what I mean?
I'm
without
wondering,
any training.
Did you ever play Knights of the Old Republic?
I just finished the second one last week.
I actually just watched the story last night because I never had time to play it. So I just watched the story on YouTube.
They're fucking long.
And I'm not going to spoil it, but like I'm wondering if there's going to be a similar reveal, like a similar twist in 9. Because that was my issue with that character in Knights of the Old Republic, is that he's just kind of a nobody, and then all of a sudden he's super powerful.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's a similar thing.
I hope so. That would be brilliant. And she was like a spoiler alert. She was like a Revan-esque character. I think
she's clone.
I like that idea too.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, the clone thing really pans out based on her vision from 8, and the original thing about the hand.
Yes, that they took out of The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I hope JJ pays that off because I think that will solve a lot of problems. I think fans can get over the Luke Skywalker thing if they're placated with like a flashback showing Luke at his greatest and what happened in the last 34, 35 years. I think they can be placated with that. But my biggest thing is with Rey. I was
Yeah.
just like, I love her. She's powerful, but how? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Luke
Yeah.
had to
I
do
think
a lot of training just to lift one boulder. You
yeah.
know,
The
she
clone thing
lifted.
makes the most sense.
Yeah,
Palpatine had facilities on Jakku.
he did.
Um,
It was in what book was
he's in
that?
this new one. That was in after. Well, it was more in the second book, in
Yeah,
Aftermath,
I
and
didn't read
second and
those
third book.
two because that was the one with Sloane, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't read
they're
those.
not great books.
Okay.
The story, there's some good story elements in there, but I don't think they're strong books, and they're written in present tense, which is really annoying to read.
Oh, yikes.
It's like
Yeah.
it's written like a script. It's like why? That doesn't work. It's like this
That's
guy is
funny.
running now. It's like why that? Oh,
Yeah,
but
I think those are the only two I haven't read.
yeah,
Or listened to rather. I do the audiobooks.
the
Um,
two books are better than the first one because they start incorporating more of like Han and Leia, and
okay.
just you get a little more of the original cast.
Okay. They have a series of books leading up to the Rise of Skywalker, or comics and books as well. So I'm gonna be checking that out. Particularly the one about Snoke. I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'm on Master and Apprentice right now. The Qui-Gon
Okay.
and Obi-Wan
Yeah.
one.
Hmm.
That's
I
pretty
forgot
good.
about that. I forgot about that. I've been looking towards I've been looking at the Thrawn one that's coming at the end of the month.
Oh, that's right. That's coming. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just used up my net. I just canceled Audible. I should turn it back on for that.
Yeah. How is Master and Apprentice?
I will say I expect a little more from that author, Claudia Gray,
Yeah.
because she did three really amazing books previously. She did Lost Stars, she did Bloodlines, she did Leia of Alderaan. All three of those were stellar. This one, I have mixed feelings about it so far. I would say I'm a little more than halfway done with it. The pacing's a little off, but the dynamics are interesting between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. I just don't see the story amounting to much in the greater scheme of things
Mm-hmm.
as it stands right now, but we'll see once it's done. But it's mostly written from Qui-Gon's perspective, which is interesting. Like, he's
That is
really the
very.
main character. Yeah.
Oh wow. And Qui-Gon
Yeah.
is an awesome character, so I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
need to finish that. I need to check that out. I'm
Yeah.
just so behind with stuff. Like I
Me too.
want to like jump on that, but I'm so behind. I'll probably like sometimes I'll look at like a Star Wars explained video that kind of goes through the book, a review of it, and I'll be good with that. And I'll read specific ones like
Yeah.
the Thrawn and Vader one. I had to read that. I
Yeah.
had to. That one
Yeah.
was
I'm skipping a lot of them because like there was a point where I was reading every single one, but
uh
the more and more they haven't been really factoring into much. Like a lot of them are kind of standalone, so I'm being a lot more picky now about which ones
I
I read.
agree.
But Thrawn 3
Uh-huh.
is a definite.
Yeah, I some of the stuff. I'm very curious. Did you watch Star Wars Rebels?
Oh yeah,
I'm very curious about the time period for this next one. Because this is when they canceled the Defender program. So I'm wondering if it got canceled before the events of the last few episodes of Rebels, or
yeah.
if
This
they're
has to be happening mid Rebels then.
yes, that like this is happening literally mid Rebels. So it's either this book is gone because we're running out of real estate at this point because
Yeah.
we're on the third book and this is when the TIE Defender um, program got canceled, and it's called treason. So in Rebels, there is a moment where Thrawn gets called back to the Emperor for something. I don't know what the hell that was. I don't know if that was for the Vader book. They didn't really go into it because if you remember, Thrawn was coming back to what is the name of that planet? Was it
Lothal?
Lothal? Yeah, it was Lothal. He was coming back from somewhere, and when they bombarded the cities. So I'm wondering if that story takes place. I don't know when the hell it would take place. That's the part that I'm just like, because I don't know. It's just so much. I'm just like, was it canceled before that? Because I don't remember when it was canceled.
No, I don't remember everything because it's been a while since I watched Rebels, but
yeah,
I feel like they're really setting up the Yuuzhan Vong based on the second Thrawn book.
Yes,
I think they're bringing them in.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I was hoping that they would bring them in the big screen. You know?
Well, I think if they do, they're gonna, because there's no way that there's not going to be a 10, 11, and 12. It'll just be maybe in 10, 15 years. Who knows? Maybe it'll be in 5 years after the DB Weiss and the Benioff and Weiss trilogy. But
yeah,
they're clearly setting it up.
That's what I'm saying, because now we're in the outer region, and even in the Old Republic era, a lot of unexplained things were going on in the Outer Rim. You know what I mean? They keep teasing something out there. Revan went out there. The whole Star Force thing, all that took place in that area. So I'm wondering what the hell is, what is going on? Is it because that's just the farthest reaches of the galaxy, or did some Sith leave thousands of years ago to fight this war? You know what I mean? Or I don't know.
I think we'll have a better idea after 9, because that's the thing is they explained in the book, but not in the movies, was that the First Order was in the outer region.
Exactly.
So that's where Snoke came from.
Yep.
Most likely.
And Hux's father, was it Armitage? That was his father's name?
No, Armitage is Hux. The father is what's his name? I
forget.
Brendel. Hux.
Oh, okay, yeah. I always mix their names up. I call Hux Brendel Hux. Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah. That whole thing. Ray Sloan, where the fuck did she go? You know what I mean?
My theory is that whenever Snoke came in, she probably was trying to have a power fight with him, for the First Order, and he overtook her probably.
Yeah, that's probably what it's going to end up being.
We'll get that book after the. Yeah.
You say you'll get that book where?
We'll get that book after Rise of Skywalker, I think.
Probably, yeah. Some throwaway book where it's just like, oh, she died. I'm just like, damn. Yeah. I'm really interested about where Sabine and Ahsoka are.
Yeah, they haven't announced a new series yet, because we got the Mandalorian coming, and then we got the Clone Wars. They're finishing that up, and they have that Resistance series that I still haven't watched.
It got better the last 5 episodes to me. Yeah, the rest of it is like Resistance, but when it got serious, and they started giving us. My biggest thing is giving us more Star Wars canon that matters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, so the ending kind of featured some things where I'm like, oh, okay, you're interesting. A new people that were affected, and I don't want to spoil it, but it introduced some really interesting things that makes me curious about the First Order in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of lacking from the film series. But I mean, what beggars can't be choosers.
My theory is that the First Order probably to some degree knows about the Yuuzhan Vong, and then I think we'll get a hint of that in episode 9, and then we'll probably after episode 9 they'll probably announce a series, an animated series based off of Ahsoka and a continuation off of Rebels, because they have to do that. Like
they have to.
So that's why I think they have been holding off on it. I think they're setting something up in episode 9, and that's why they haven't announced anything with that.
I hope so, because I think Star Wars needs a new, fresh excitement. It needs to go. I love George Lucas and whatever he's established, but we need to stand on that and create something new. You know what I mean? Yeah. If that's possible. I don't know if that's possible. It is. I think so. I think Dave Filoni has done a wonderful job. But as far as taking it from the original trilogy and beyond, and standing on your own footing, I think that's hard. I think he captured lightning in the bottle, and everything before the original trilogy you can do a lot of great stuff with. But after that, unless he had a plan for after that, it's a tough thing to do, Well,
what I love about Filoni is I love that he got weird with the Force. Like, he really, got into it. I want to see more of that. I love... That's what I love Star Wars for, is the fantasy stuff. I'm a fantasy geek. So, I want weird Force shit, and... Yeah. So, I want that to be in the movies. I want them to really...
I agree. I think the movies are scared. It almost feels like they're scared to get weird. Like they
But they did it in Last Jedi.
They did. You're right. With the Rey's vision.
Everybody, or they complained about Leia's thing, but I like that. I thought that was a great moment. Leia pulling herself back in. It was like, oh, okay, we're expanding the Force a little bit here.
Yeah.
Then they added the astral projection thing. That's also expanding it. And don't forget Snoke. They showed Snoke can manipulate the Force from light years away via a hologram.
That's why. Very first scene. That's why people are conflicted about his death, because he died a fool's death. You know what I mean? It was it was a fool's death. You would think somebody that powerful could sense when a lightsaber is turning. But I guess you can make the argument that he was so caught up in his own... I don't know. That was just...
There's something more there.
I hope so. Because that was anticlimactic. That was the most anticlimactic...
It's gotta be...
Yeah, I hope so. I hope... I've been hearing some rumors about some Palpatine meddling within there, and Snoke doesn't matter because he was a puppet, essentially.
Probably.
But I don't know either, because I was hearing when The Force Awakens came out, they were putting stuff like Snoke is more powerful than Palpatine, and he's super ancient. They kind of positioned him as somebody else. I don't know if they're kind of retconning that, or...
Maybe, because I felt like his character, even from The Force Awakens, was always very kind of... not threatening. I found him kind of... He's too grandiose with, the giant hologram and the throne. I don't know. I felt like he was just kind of... there. He felt like a pawn to me, even in The Force Awakens.
Okay. That's true.
It was actually slippers. My original thought was that he was a version of... I don't know if you ever read the original Zahn books, the Thrawn trilogy.
I didn't. I heard about them.
So, in the story of that, Thrawn finds this old Jedi who basically like fled to this planet and became like a ruler of the planet, and he's kind of crazy. And he brings this old Jedi, his name's Sabayoth, to be his kind of to work for him, basically. And I'm not going to get too into that plot because I don't have the time. But I always felt like Snoke was like a version of that character, of that Sabayoth character, that he's a Jedi, but he's actually a pawn for somebody else.
That would be interesting. That'd be very interesting. Yeah. Wow. I mean, it could be. They laid so much track. I don't know where the fuck the train is going.
Yeah, either. It's anybody's guess.
It literally is anybody's guess. That whole Ahsoka Sabine thing, that blew my mind because it showed that it went past the original trilogy, and I'm just like, or at least in the time. Wait, what? It was after the original trilogy, they said, right?
Yeah, that was after. That was like a year or two after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. So I'm like,
here's the question: where was Ahsoka that whole time? Like just trapped on Malachor for 5 years?
I don't know. I mean, Malachor is a very fucked up place, but like, I don't know. That's why my mind is like, how are they doing this? There must be a plan that goes beyond. I really think that this sequel trilogy was just a stepping stool, so because it just feels like a stepping stool. It feels like we want to part from this where we've come from, so we're just going to do this thing, but we have 10 years planned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the future, some untold, and they're very quiet. Kathleen Kennedy is not like Kevin Feige. Feige and Marvel, they keep their fans, into it, engaged. There's still some secrecy, but here and there he'll come out and say, "Oh, here's what we're doing," or we want to show you this, or we'll tease something online, and But Lucasfilm has just been quiet.
Yeah, the big difference there is Lucasfilm is not straight up. They don't have as much material to adapt. It's a different kind of adaptation. Like they can pull from the legends, but they're not straight up adapting like Marvel does with a lot of their comics, where people know those comics.
That's true.
But I'm curious to see what the new creative head is going to do, because I'm hoping that it'll give them a little direction.
Yeah, Michelle Rejuan. I'm 50-50 with it. She can be the greatest thing ever, or she could just not be a good fit. But I'm hoping. Out. Yeah, we'll definitely find out. And I was so jealous. I want her position.
Yeah. Oh my God! I mean, I would take that. That's one of the few high up positions that I think I'm actually qualified for. That's not musical.
I think you would be. I think
because I'm an encyclopedia of Star Wars, so I'd be good for that job.
How come you don't start a Star Wars channel?
I don't feel the need to. I mean, like, Jedi, there's plenty of other people that do that. Like, I'm not that encyclopedic. I'm encyclopedic, but not to the level of some of these other people. I don't want to be that narrow.
Gotcha. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. Yeah, I'm not really an encyclopedia, but I'm a huge fan. Every day I'm watching somebody's video. I'm watching Jedi Council. I'm watching A Rule of Two. I'm watching all this content all the time. So that's the extent of my knowledge is from that. But there's very few series that, in fact, I think this is the only one that I get chills. I get tears. It like affects me in a way that I'm not really comfortable with.
What was it got me recently? Stranger Things that got me a little bit.
Oh, it did. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually that's what I was watching before our call because I'm reviewing it on my podcast on Tuesday. So I'm finishing the third season. I'm on episode 4 now.
I won't say anything then.
Okay, it gave you chills.
Well, it got me a little emotional. I wouldn't say chills. That's a strong word, but then I'll say it got me emotional. But then at the same time, I was like, oh, that's probably not going to pay off in the way that it did.
Oh,
it's one of those things. They made something. I'm not going to talk about it because you haven't watched it.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say any more about it. But yeah. Actually, I'm curious. I just listened to your Spider-Man review the other day. Has your reviews changed since Spider?
Yeah, I actually saw it twice. I saw it a second time that week, and my views did change. The first time around, I was watching it from more of a critical eye, because I knew that I had to watch it for my podcast. The second time, all my inhibitors were down, so my expectation about the multiverse thing still bothers me because I still think that was a huge...
Spoilers. We're going to talk spoilers here. I'm sorry, this is not our podcast, my normal podcast format, but at this point, if you haven't seen Spider-Man, that's kind of your fault. And if you were going to see it, you probably have seen it. So
yes,
this will be out on Thursday. It's 3 weeks. So.
Yeah, I still think that was a missed opportunity because they use it in all of the marketing. You know what I mean? And I don't know if this is an extended tease to it, something that's going to happen, but I thought that was the perfect opportunity to end Phase 3 by saying, look, we fucked up at the end of Avengers Endgame and it caused these problems, but nothing.
Well, I think it'd be an interesting way to factor in the X-Men, for sure.
Yes.
Because that's kind of how I always thought they were going to do it. But but I knew from the trailers that it was a misdirect because Mysterio. So I was just like, oh, okay, this is bullshit. The only thing that made me think maybe that the multiverse was kind of real was because Nick Fury was involved. But then once it was found out that, oh, he was a Skrull the whole time, I was like, oh yeah, the multiverse thing, as far as they set it up in that movie, was bullshit.
Yeah, that hurt. that actually hurt me, and it was my fault. It wasn't their fault. I went in there with expectations that got dashed. That was my fault. And I was a little bitter when we recorded the Spider-Man episode. But all in all, I thought it was a great movie. Yeah. I am still. I don't know. I think maybe we've had too many Spider-Man movies in the last 10 years, and I'm just I have fatigue. So for me, it was just like another Spider-Man movie, you know.
I feel that, but at the same time, I really enjoyed this series. I like the characters. Okay. Like I was a little disappointed in Ned in this one because like he didn't really have anything to do.
Yeah.
Like,
he had a
they
girl.
set up the whole like he was the man in the chair in the first one. I like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I really liked Zendaya.
She was yes.
I love that character. Yeah.
That take on Mary Jane, I think is awesome.
Yeah. Well, and she's not Mary Jane. That's the funny thing. Like she's not even the same name. Her name is Michelle Jackson.
Well, yeah, on that kind of on MJ on that you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that I thought that was a weird choice because like her character isn't MJ in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know why they bother calling her that.
Yeah, I don't know. And are they going to introduce a Mary Jane at some point, or
probably not?
Yeah, I guess that's just a replacement. I guess.
I don't think we're even going to get a Gwen Stacy. I think this is a completely different universe.
Yeah, a universe where he's Tony Stark's like son.
But I do think I predict that we're going to get Miles Morales in the next one.
You think so?
Yeah, because they set him up in the first one. So.
Yeah, with Donald Glover, right?
Yeah, and with this one, it didn't make sense to put him in because this was more about the aftermath. But I think like he was probably a little kid in the first one, but now that there's the 5-year time jump, he's probably he's snapped, and now he'll be a teenager, and they can introduce
some things.
Yeah,
I just think I have superhero fatigue, so I need some variety. I need some risk. I need something more than just baseline storytelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Mysterio thing was, I like what they did technically with that. They did a lot of really dope special effects, and I like that. But his backstory for this, it was just, he's a disgruntled employee. It felt very neighborhood, but on an international level, which is what they were probably going for. But
yeah,
I don't know. I guess the stakes were on a. I don't know. Something just doesn't.
A lot of the issues I had with that were really resolved by the scroll reveal. Because most of the issues I was having throughout the movie were that, why is Nick Fury so stupid?
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, he was a scroll. Okay, so that's why. And that alleviated a lot of my issues with the movie.
That's true. I thought, I had fun at this point, I just review them. Like, I had fun at the theater. It was a good time. I thought Shazam was awesome. I had superhero
Shazam.
I loved Shazam. I thought I had superhero fatigue, and I was just bitter, angry, fatigued superhero fan. And I watched Shazam, and I had a great time. And I was like, okay,
yeah.
So it's not that I'm really fatigued. It's just that I need something different. I need risk. I need something I haven't seen before, And I think Marvel, they run the risk of getting stale because they have this identity in all their movies. And after 10 years of watching that, and then Avengers, it's like, can we watch another 10 years of that? Or are they gonna give us something? I don't know. I don't see us going back to strictly origin stories.
The good thing with what I feel with what the Marvel's done is that every time they get to a point where I'm starting to feel fatigued, they do something interesting. Like, I was feeling fatigued after Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Same.
But, well, actually, no. I was feeling fatigued after Iron Man. Actually, probably after, I would say Thor 2. But then Winter Soldier came out, and then Guardians of the Galaxy 1 came out. And then I was like, okay, I'm back in. And then the same thing happened. I wasn't crazy about Guardians 2, but then Doctor Strange came out.
I wasn't either.
There we go. I love Doctor Strange, and that changed it up. So I don't feel fatigued right now. I thought that this new Spider-Man was a good palate cleanser after Endgame, because Endgame was very emotional. But then we got Eternals coming. That's going to be interesting.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
I wasn't really looking forward to Spider-Man. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't. But then again, I don't know. There's been how many Spider-Man franchise reboots? 3 in the last 10 years. I'm just 4, including Into the Spider-Verse. I was that whole brand. I'm like okay with.
That's kind of how I felt about Iron Man.
Yeah.
I got sick of Tony being in everything.
Yeah, I think we talked about that briefly in one of our maybe Avengers or something. He was literally in everything, But he's in nothing now. So.
Well, they can't afford to be paying him $75 million.
Yeah, no, I agree. Where do you think the franchise is headed? How do you top Thanos? Galactus?
I think they're gonna start getting into the weird stuff, because we're gonna have the Eternals come in. We have another Doctor Strange. I'm sure we'll get a whole timeline at Comic-Con. I'm sure they're gonna announce something, because they already said that after Spider-Man, they were gonna announce the next slate. So, and the next direction. So, I think they'll set up some more of the I think they're gonna get more into the magic and the cosmic stuff, especially whenever they do Captain Marvel 2. And there's a lot that they're setting up now, especially with Adam Warlock
Yeah,
and
that was a
Guardians
that,
3.
that was a
Things
big reveal.
Yeah, and I assume they're setting up Namor after Endgame.
Namor.
Yeah, because they had the whole thing where like there was an earthquake in the ocean, so I was like, okay, they're probably doing him.
That's interesting.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we get
see.
Fantastic Four by the end of this phase.
In Spider-Man, but I feel like fans are reading too much into that 1, 2, 3, 4. That 1, 2, 3, 4. It was something in one of the frames where they were teasing the idea of 4. Now, some people were saying it's the Phase 4. Other people are saying it was Fantastic Four. So
it might be both.
It could be. It could be. Could very well be.
Everything's intentional in this universe.
Yes, it is. That's what I like.
Yeah. Like, they don't leave a stone.
And I like that. And that's what I wanted for Star Wars.
I
say it again?
I agree.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I don't have a problem with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, but those movies didn't really leave me like how you leave the theater, you're like, I mean, Force Awakens, I left it like, I can't wait to see 8 because they're setting up so many things. And then in 8, it's kind of anticlimactic because he wanted to, subvert expectations.
And they kind of resolved things, like, to a certain extent. Like,
they did.
It didn't seem like it wasn't a cliffhanger. Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily fan service. It was more, I think Marvel, one of the problems, or it's a good thing and a bad thing. One of the great things about Marvel is they do a lot of fan service, even if it comes with very predictable results. You know what I mean? Oh, I knew he was going to do that because they're setting up this. Oh, I knew he was going to do that because you know what I mean? They play into that versus, which is a great thing if you're a fan, and it's an amazing thing. For Star Wars, for Episode 8, we didn't really get that. I mean, he did his own thing. You know what I mean? I don't think he made any of those decisions thinking that the fans were going to cheer. You know what I mean? That wasn't, at least to me, it didn't seem like that was the motivation. It was, I'm doing this because it serves the story best, and this is my vision, and I think this is where it can go, which is cool. But you have a lead. This is one of the biggest brands on Earth. You know what I mean? We want to see Luke Skywalker pull a fucking Star Destroyer out of the sky. You know, at least me. I want to see that. I want to see how powerful he's become since Return of the Jedi. I want to see what happened in those 34 years. I want to see all of that. And it feels like they're keeping it spoon-fed. You know, they're playing too much up on the mystique, which I get because that's how the original was. But I'm just like, but we had the fucking prequels, man. We had the craziest Jedi fights we've ever seen since. You know, you can't go back to that.
I personally, I'm not crazy about the prequel fight. I don't like the that they look like dance. I really like this sequel trilogy, like that the Rey versus Kylo Ren fight. I love that fight.
That fight was great.
It's so raw. It feels like people are actually trying to kill each other. Whereas in the prequels, like, you could tell that so many of their strikes are not. It looks like they're trying to hit the other person's lightsaber. It doesn't look like they're attacking them.
They're trying to kill them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which always bothers me in a sword fight in a movie. That's what I always judge a sword fight on.
I feel that. I definitely feel that. I'm more of I like the acrobatics. I like the cool factor. Like, there's a part where I'm sorry.
I like a little bit.
Yeah, I like the Obi-Wan and Anakin fight. And
I don't.
Oh wow, you hated that too?
That's the one I like. I mean, aside from I mean, the Dooku one's kind of the least, but I always found the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight just too much.
Oh wow.
Like
Okay.
I think the scale is too big because it doesn't feel like you're watching people fight. It feels like you're watching a set piece. And I like my favorite Star Wars fight of all time is Return of the Jedi, hands down, because there's emotion to it. Like you know, it really there's dynamics to it. Like it's emotional, whereas I should feel emotion in this final fight in Revenge of the Sith because these are two best friends.
Yeah.
You know, and I just don't feel it when I watch that fight. It's just so. It's all about the spectacle. They're on this big thing floating in lava, swinging around.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
I agree with that. I do see what you're saying. I think we're at a point with technology where we can get both now. With those three, it was really a technological marvel. You know, he was really pushing for that whole CGI, gigantic, big spectacle kind of thing. Whereas with this new one, I think we can have both. You know what I mean? We can have the emotion. We can have those. You can create whatever you want, and it will look amazing. You know what I mean? At that time, where it was kind of hard to do both, and he chose spectacle. Like, look at Attack of the Clones. Like, holy shit! Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? He chose.
But that is cool. That the ground battle in Attack of the Clones is really cool. It
was cool. I loved it. I love spectacle. Don't get me wrong.
But what's great is it's brief. Like that whole ground battle is actually really short.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
My thing is, I'm more of the spectacle guy. I would love. So when I saw the teaser trailer, and Rey did that backflip over the TIE fighter or Defender or whatever the hell it was. I don't know what the hell that was. She did the flip over that. I was like, oh wow, we're getting back to some of that acrobatic.
I like that. I don't mind acrobatics. It's just got to be practical. Like I don't want acrobatics for acrobatics' sake. There's got to be a reason behind it. And they actually, Daisy Ridley said something recently where she said this battle in this movie is the most acrobatic one like ever. So we'll see what that means.
I can't wait to see that because I'm sorry. I like that spectacle. I do very practical usually, but that kind of stuff I want to leave the theater exhilarated. You know what I mean? And I think you can leave it. I think it can be practical, but exhilarating. You know, I don't know. I got to see what they're gonna do because the only emotion I see is Rey versus Kylo, and that's it. Yeah. They really haven't set up. There really isn't any other. I don't know. Because I look at it, and the only lightsaber wielder that we know of is Rey and Kylo. And then you have the Knights of Ren, but who are they gonna fight? You know what I mean? Who is? I don't really get. I don't get the pieces that we have left because Rey is really the only person that can fight the Knights of Ren and Kylo. But how does that work
Finn,
together?
Well,
maybe.
Yeah, we really don't know what's happening.
I hope. I don't know. And if they're force sensitive, like how I don't know. I mean, Finn for Kylo, so I don't know.
One thing I need to happen in this movie, I want to see Rey build her own lightsaber. Like, I want to see that in a movie. It's only been in animated things or video games. That should be in a movie.
That would be really awesome.
My theory on that is that you see in the trailer that she has her Anakin's lightsaber and it's taped up. My theory is that solution doesn't work. It's only a temporary one. Like it winds up breaking halfway through the, and she has to build her own.
I hope so. I hope that's not it all day. The whole movie. I hope there are a lot of surprises and like very big ways. I don't really like the idea that there's only Rey and maybe Leia is the only. Leia's not even a Jedi. She's the only Jedi in the galaxy. No one wants to user. You know, a force user. She's the only one.
Hold on, we're breaking up pretty bad. It's breaking up pretty bad. Well, you know what?
What just happened?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying not to make too many predictions because it's just I don't know what we got coming. They've left it pretty open ended. I'm still.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I guess we'll just see with the Rise of Skywalker. You
Yeah.
know, if not, then I'll have my piece with this series, and I'll say, okay, Dan and Dave, let's take us back to the Old Republic, and let me get excited about that because
I really want to see something interesting with them. I want to see Origins. Like I want to see a series that goes all the way back to the origin of the Jedi and the Sith. That would be amazing to me. Like I wouldn't mind seeing them not even use lightsabers, fighting with swords. Something. Go real.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Then I don't know.
Hold on, we're having bad connection issues again. Come on. Function. Stupid internet. It's 2019. We should not have these kind of internet problems.
You
just sound like a robot. Shit. This is getting pretty bad.
But
come on, catch up. I'm only getting like little blips and sounds. It's not. I can't really make out anything you say. You know what? When it catches up, let's start closing it out. I have a question I would ask every guest, which is, what do you think is the thing that? How do you feel you keep yourself back in history?
How do I keep myself back? Wait, can you say that again? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Like you have, like what do you feel like is your like what insecurity do you feel keeps you from moving further in your career?
One weakness I can see that is hurting me. Honestly, one of them is overthinking. Because sometimes we get. Are we caught up?
Yes, it's working.
Okay. One of the things that I have a problem with that's also tied to how I feel about my goals is it's really overthinking because I'm so very passionate about being in this industry and working on a very high level, and I've worked my fucking ass off the last 3 years. You know what I mean? So the closer you get to your goals, the more you're afraid to mess up. You know what I mean? And that crippling fear of being afraid to mess up can stop you from the blessing that's right in front of you. So perfect example, I worked so hard to build an amazing resume. And I was working on a show. And one of the writers asked if I could walk her manager to somewhere. Now, I got to talking to her manager, and Turns out her manager represents writers and directors, and she's looking for talent and stuff like that. And I was just talking to her, but in my mind, I'm like, this might be your moment. You know what I mean? And I got in my head so much that I froze up and I didn't get her information. And this is something that literally never happens in my life ever. You know what I mean? I started overthinking to the point where I'm like, okay, she's not really engaging with me. So I don't want to ask her for her information. I don't know if this is out of place. I don't know if this is out of pocket because this is somebody else's manager. I don't want it to come off the wrong way. There were a lot of things that were in my head. And by the end of it, I froze up and I said, have a good day. And I'll probably never see that lady ever again in life. You know what I mean? And that happens a lot. That I've been realizing recently, where because I'm such a perfectionist, because I've worked so hard, I don't want to fuck it up, you know what I mean, by doing something stupid. So I would rather not do it than to do it and to mess it up, which is a terrible thing, because when opportunity meets preparation, you got to strike. You know what I mean? You can't overthink it. You got to just do it. And I've been put in certain situations because I just did it my whole life. It's just doing. I didn't get this opportunity. I'm going to do it myself. This didn't pan out. I'm going to do it myself. You know what I mean? But this doesn't happen in every situation. A lot of situations, I'm on my shit 99% of the time. But even the 1% could fuck your chances up. Who knows who she was or what relationship could have blossomed from that? Even if she didn't want to sign me then and there, that could have been somebody I get advice from on how I can improve to eventually be signed by somewhere else. And she could have just said no, but I would never know because I didn't go through with it. I could have had negative consequences, but I would never find out because I didn't do it. You know what I mean? You miss 100% of the shots that you never take. So if I can leave people with something, it's fucking do it. If you're thinking about doing it, stop thinking. Just do it. It's really that simple. And I know I sound like one of those guys that's trying to sell like a book or something, but it's really simple. You know what I mean? Just do it, because you really never know what can happen as a result of you putting that one foot in front of the other. And I can tell you with complete confidence that I just did it. My first time working in television, I straight up asked them, hey, can I go to Atlanta with you? You know what I mean? Most people wouldn't ask somebody for something like that. I said, hey, I can put myself up. Can I come with you? And they said, yes. And I extended my employment on a television show for 2 months. And I saw the creation of a television show after I saw the writing process of a television show. So whatever you're thinking, take a deep breath and just do it. Shoot that shot.
So I should make that music video.
Do it. Do it, man. Yeah. Do it. Make that music video. Do whatever you need to do. Go to those events that you've been putting off. Yeah. Do it. Because, one of the things that I've learned is that life is an algorithm of sorts. You know what I mean? And your actions leads to results, whatever those results may be. And you never know what those results are. Or as a result of talking to this person at Whole Foods, I got a job that saved my life. Or as a result of sending this email, I met somebody who introduced me to somebody else at this event, who introduced me to someone else at this other event in LA that I ended up working with. The 6 degrees of separation. You know what I mean?
I'll give you a perfect example in my own life of how that works out. I do these weekly guitar covers, and a couple of them I started kind of opening up about issues I was dealing with, like in the copy, like where it was relating to the song title or the song lyrics. One of them, I was getting into some pretty heavy stuff, some pretty heavy topics, and it actually led to this guy contacting me because of, the caption I wrote under that video, and asked me to be on a project for him that he's doing.
Oh, wow.
And it's this. I can't talk about the project really, but it's basically it's helping a little girl deal with the death of her father. A real. This isn't a story. Like this is a real girl. This is a charity thing for this girl who lost her father. Her father committed suicide, and I'm so happy to be on this project. And it's because I put that really scary thing up that was very open. I was very vulnerable on it, and I'm still struggling with that vulnerability, even though I had that positive result. But it does pay off.
Wow. It literally does, and it's a hard industry, and to go back, and that's an amazing thing, because just because of that action, it led to another action. You know what I mean? And that's what the algorithm thing is. Life is just a series of people making decisions affecting other people. You know what I mean? And it goes on and on. There's a pattern. There's a system. You can significantly improve whatever is going on in front of you with an action, if it's something that's in your control. You know what I mean? So if you can get up and do it, and you choose not to, that's your choice. And you can't be mad that it's not happening. So the script that I'm finishing, if I never finish it and I don't end up selling a script ever in my life, it's my fault. If it's in my control, it's my fault, because I was too lazy to sit down and write a page a day. And by the end of 75 days, I don't have something that I can sell for my dream. That's my fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just how I've been interpreting that. And that's been driving me to work constantly, to write constantly, to go to events, to meet new people. Every time I meet somebody, they know what I do. I make sure everyone knows what I do. That's another thing. But I don't want to keep rambling. More of the story, we're here for a finite amount of days and time. Take it a step at a time. Take it a day at a time. Work on whatever you're working with over time, and be passionate about it, because we're here for a very specific amount of time. And in this time, we should be doing things that give us joy and excitement. You know what I mean? And you just work towards that at whatever level you're at, and you build on that and take it a step at a time, and manage your own expectations too. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Your story is very different than anybody else, and you just take it a day at a time, what you have, and you'll be fulfilled.
Another thing I wanted to say real quick before we end, it's related to the whole idea about just taking the shot and going for it. This comes from a person who's very controversial, but I think it's a good piece of advice. Whatever your opinion on the guy, Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
He had a quote that I really am trying to let seep into me and keep in mind at all times, which is, as long as you tell the exact whole truth, whatever the outcome is the right one, is the right outcome. That's a very hard thing to accept, but I'm trying to really let that just be that single piece of advice be a part of me. I try to keep that in my head at all times, but okay.
Wow. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hold up. I think we lost audio.
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's weird.
Somebody called me. Lost audio.
Oh, that's fine.
But yeah, that's an amazing piece of advice.
Yeah. And it's yeah.
Hold on 1 second. I don't know what's going on.
It doesn't matter.
Skype doesn't like me. I've just come to that conclusion.
Yeah. But yeah, that one, I heard that and it just like, whoo! That hit me like a ton of bricks. Yeah.
You said you heard that?
No, that piece of advice. Now I just see black.
Oh,
Okay,
that's me. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, you were like,
Sorry.
you had it up against your head or something.
That's the only way that I could hear you, if I put it to my ears, because for some reason
not got the Bluetooth?
it's playing through my my speakers like it's a call, so I can't hear it. It's stupid.
Okay. Well, we'll end there. Just I guess give the whole where to find you spiel.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. This is it doesn't
tell
like
them
me.
where to find you.
What did you say?
Tell them where to find you. All that spiel.
Yes, you see a black screen because I'm listening to what you're saying. You can find me at I am Unchained X. I am Unchained X, and that is on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook as Mustafa Williams. Feel free to reach out if you're in the industry. I'm always down to connect with people and build. So that's where you can find me.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on.
All right. Thanks for having me. The technology doesn't really like me much, but we made it work.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for having me. Yep.
Thanks for
having
being
me.
on. Bye.
All right. I'll see you. Bye.